What's up, guys? JT over at Team FAS Motorsports, and today we're going to be installing a Viper Midnight 4500 on a Polaris RZR XP1000. It's 2021 that just came in. So before we get into that, if you can go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you find this stuff useful, and we'll be sure to be putting out more content. So first on this is you do have your mount plate, goes above the front diff, secures with these carriage bolts. They take a 14 mil to install. To get the front plastics off, which we have to do before we get to this mount, it does take a T25 to remove that front plastic piece, and then we'll be able to go ahead and get this on. On top of this will go your winch, and then we'll have to put the Fairlead on and put the rope through as well as the stopper. So we'll go over to the machine now and we'll show you how to go ahead and do that. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is go ahead and take these two T25s out, and then we can pull this plate off and go ahead and get to where we're going to actually mount the winch. There are two clips right behind here that remove this, and it just comes right off like that. So your Fairlead is going to bolt to these four, which we'll get back to in a few minutes. But we're going to go ahead and lay the mount up in here, and using the provided hardware, go ahead and bolt it into place. And then we can mount the winch to that, obviously, as I said, with the motor going to the passenger side. And then we'll feed our rope through, get our Fairlead hooked up, and then move on to the wiring. Okay, so this is where the mount is going to lay. Make sure obviously all your brake lines, breather hoses, any sort of wiring is out of the way before you lay the plate in here flat. And it will bolt to these two locations in the front. And then right here there's two mounts on the back as well. Okay, so to access these two front bolts, you're just going to go ahead and remove these T40s. There's one here, one here. There's going to be one right here, and then the same on the other side. And that will go ahead and let this pull forward enough where you can reach those bolts. And then you can slide your hand up in there and get right to the back of the mount where you need to be. So once those are slid through, just want to go ahead and put your washer on and just hand tighten the lock nut on both sides. Next, you're going to go ahead and repeat the same thing for the rear. So once these are in place, you're just going to go ahead and take your 14 and tighten them all up, and then we'll go ahead and install the winch onto the plate. Okay, so here we go. We're ready to unbox our winch. Show you what comes included. Get your line stopper. You get your dash switch. If you order this off our website, the line stopper and the dash switch does come included free. And if you do go and order off of the Motor Alliance website, they are add-on options. your wiring. Obviously your instructions. This is a universal Fairlead plate. Some hardware, your hook, all your terminal guards. You have your contactor. Wireless remote kit. Obviously your winch and your Fairlead. So basically next step is to go ahead and mount this winch up onto the winch mount itself. Motor goes to the passenger side like we've mentioned before, and then cut the zip tie, pull the rope through, and then we have to undo the stock hardware for the Fairlead, install the Fairlead mount and the Fairlead itself, and then we can go ahead and get to the wiring. Okay, so it's going to fit right in here on this mount like this, and the bolts are going to come through the bottom. These bolts do each have a washer and a lock washer. So once you do get it into place, you're going to go ahead and come up through. Just hand tighten each one a little bit. Okay, once all four of those are in, you're going to go ahead and use a 1/2-inch wrench to tighten these all up. They're pretty hard to get a socket on, so you're probably going to have to use a wrench or a socket with a small extension, and you'll definitely be able to reach all four of these with a small extension. Okay, so now that you got your winch mounted up and all tightened down, you're going to remove the stock 4 Fairlead bolts. You are going to be using this hardware over, so keep it handy here. Okay, so once you tighten back down the stock Fairlead with the new Fairlead adapter plugged in, or I'm sorry, bolted up, you can go ahead and get this aluminum Fairlead mounted up. So it's going to take this countersunk Allen with a washer and a nut on the back. Okay, so once we got our Fairlead and everything all bolted up, it's time to get to the wiring. We're going to first take off the front hood, and we're going to have to wire up the contactor somewhere. Usually a pretty good spot for it is somewhere down here. Just make sure you double check there's no wires or anything behind this before you go ahead and drill it in. Some guys also, mounted it down in here with some self-tappers. That's kind of nice and easy to get to as well. Really, wherever you think is going to be a good, fairly protected spot to put this is where I would recommend going ahead and putting this. Okay, so once the contactor is all mounted up and secured, which is right up here, we can go ahead and just match the colors up. You're going to go put your yellow terminal on. Before you do this, though, you have to go ahead and put the protective boot on. So these just slide right over the end. And especially on this one, because it's very close to the rad hose, you want to have this on there. Okay, so this goes. That's going to have a washer on top of it and a nut. Now I do like to put these out of the way so they're not interfering with the shocks or anything like that. And then this, of course, is going to route up top here, which will route up through. Then you're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the blue one down here. Now these, we will obviously route following the frame line here and pull them up to the top. And when we're all done, we'll go ahead and zip tie them nice and neat. Okay, so what you can do now is go ahead and tighten these up. They're a 10 millimeter. And then you can put your protective boot right over top. So now we'll go ahead up top and we'll get these wires wrapped up nice and neat. Make sure we leave enough slack to tie them up with the zip ties. And we'll go ahead and connect these now to the contactor right here. So what you can do now is you can zip tie the two lower wires to the frame. Make sure that's all up and out of the way. And then you can just go ahead and get these nice and neat, leaving yourself obviously enough room to get to the contactor here. So usually right about there, we even sometimes, I'll probably throw a zip tie on this right now just to keep it nice and neat, and then I could cut it later and get them exactly where I want to with any other wires we have. Okay, so when you're hooking up your contactor, you can see obviously we zip tied our lines here first, but these are color coded, so you do want to obviously put them to the correct colors. These are obviously going to go to your power source, but these go down to your winch, your yellow and your blue. So if they're reversed, when you go to hook up your switch, in, it'll be pushing the winch out, and out, it'll be pulling the rope back in. So you definitely obviously want to have these the correct way. So go ahead and you can tighten these up now, and then we'll move on and get a power source. We're going to go to the bus bar on this machine, on this Razor. Sometimes you do have to run them back to the actual battery on the machine. If that's the case, they do sell extended wiring kits as well for, let's say, a 4-seater or some of the other 2-seaters as well. Okay, so now that we got our winch wiring hooked up to the contactor, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with our negative and our positive. On the Razor, we're going to run our positive here and our negative here, as well as obviously to the color-coded locations down the contactor. And then we will go ahead and wire in the switch and put all that together so this isn't on at all times. If you do wire it up, you can wire it to the accessory if you'd like. This customer wants it wired to the positive terminal, so that's how we're going to do it for him. So, yep, we're just going to go ahead and put these down here, wire them up to these, and then we'll go ahead and go inside, get the ride command out of this system, and pull the wires up for the switch. Okay, so now once you have your positive and negative terminals all hooked up here, and everything's to your contactor, which is down here, you're going to go ahead and have to run these wires for the switch. Some of the Razors do have a nice grommet, some of them have an access panel through here, where you can go right under with some factory stuff. So on this ride command, what we did was we removed this top panel here, and then with just 2 push pins. You pull that right out, you're able to get your hand down in there, and we can go ahead and just run our wires for our switch, and then that is going to feed right in back into the panel here. And basically these 2 wires coming off it, that needs a hot and a ground on the machine, so we're going to run this to a key on hot and this to a ground on the machine, and that'll be all for the wiring. You can button the machine back up, and then we'll go ahead and obviously test it prior to buttoning it back up. But that should be it as far as the winch install goes. So we'll get this buttoned up, and then we'll check, make sure everything's all good to go. Okay, so once you get all your wiring done, you can go ahead and test your winch, and if everything's all good, install your line stopper, your hook, and your grab handle here. These just obviously split open, you can slide that through, mounts right up. When you test your winch, obviously make sure you're not in free spool, so you don't double check everything like some people have in the past. But that's it. If for some reason your winch is going in the opposite direction of the switch, you have one of the wires coming off the contactor to the switch reversed, or you have something on the contactor reversed. So that's all there is to it. You can go ahead and button everything up right now, and you're ready to go. I do recommend when you pull this in for the first time, put some tension on it so it winds up nice and neat, and you're all good, and that's it. That's basically how to install a Viper 4500 on a Razor XP 1000. Thanks for watching the video. If it was helpful, please give us a like, and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to keep up to date on all the installs and rides coming up, as well as all of our free giveaways we do once a month. And we appreciate you watching. Thank you. Okay guys, we're all set. Our Viper 4500 is hooked up for this customer. He's ready to hit the trails. So if you enjoyed the video, please give us a like, as well as subscribe to the channel. This month, our free giveaway is a set of GrizzTech, sponsored and donated by GrizzTech, of course, for mud guards for any model Ranger that they make. It's free to join, so go ahead and click the link in the description. That'll get you signed up for the free raffle. As well, feel free to share the video, and hopefully we'll be able to help some of you guys get your winches installed and hit the trails. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.